everyone, welcome to our science learning adventure. I am your teacher, Ian, and today we're going to talk about something very important, the 2 seasons in the Philippines. Are you all ready? I can't hear you. Are you all excited for today's learning? If that being said, ready your knowledge bag as we go on and learn about the 2 seasons in the Philippines. Let's go! First, let's start with this question. What is a season? A season is a period of time characterized by a particular kind of weather. That means each season has a different weather condition. Take note of this. When we talk about weather, it is a day-to-day state of the atmosphere. While on the other hand, when we talk about seasons, are long-term period of the year with specific weather conditions. In the Philippines, we have 2 seasons. Can you guess what they are? That's right. We have the wet and the dry season. But what do these seasons look like? Let's talk about them. Let's have the wet season. So let's talk about the wet season. So when we talk about the wet season, it is when we experience heavy rainfall all over the country. During this time, we often see dark clouds, strong winds, and frequent rain showers. Sometimes we even have typhoons. In this season, we usually wear our thick clothes like jackets, raincoats, boots, and of course, umbrellas. In this season, we usually love to drink our hot coffees and sip some hot and delicious soups. In this season, we usually stay at home. But when do we experience the wet season? The wet season in the Philippines starts in June and ends until November. The peak of the wet season is the time when we experience the most rain, and it is usually in July and up until October. So, now, do you know the local name for the wet season? In the Philippines, we call it Tag-ulan. Now, let's move on to our next season. So, let's have a dry season, and it is the contrast of the wet season. When we talk about dry season, it is the time when the weather is hot and cloudless. The sun shines brightly and there is a very little rain. This is the season when we love to go swimming or visit the beach. And in this season, we usually wear our thin clothes like sandals, shorts, and our shades. The dry season in the Philippines starts in December and lasts up until May. Its peak or the hottest months are usually in March up until to May. And what do we call this season in Filipino? Yes, it is called Tag-init. So why does the Philippines have 2 seasons? And that is because of the 2 factors. We have the location and of course the prevailing wind in the Philippines. The reason we only experience 2 seasons, the wet and dry, is because of where the Philippines is located on Earth. The Philippines is near the equator, which is the imaginary line that divides the Earth into the northern and the southern hemispheres. This means we have a tropical climate and get a lot of sunlight all year round. Unlike countries with 4 seasons, we don't have winter, spring, summer, or fall. Instead, we only experience changes in weather based on the amount of rainfall we receive, leading to the wet season and the dry season. Next factor is the prevailing wind in the Philippines, or what we call monsoon, or the wind that brings changes in our weather. The winds are called prevailing winds because they dominate or control our climate. We have two important monsoons in the Philippines, and these are the southwest monsoon or the Habagat and the northeast monsoon or Amihan. Let's talk about them. When we talk about the southwest monsoon or Habagat, during the wet season, we experience the southwest monsoon, also called as Habagat. This means wind blows from the south direction, bringing warm and moist air from the ocean, which causes heavy rain and even typhoons. The southwest monsoon or Habagat start around June and ends up until September. That is why we have a lot of rain during these months. Next, we have the northeast monsoon or Amihan. Now, during the dry season, we experience the northeast monsoon, also called as Amihan. The wind comes from the northeast direction, bringing cool and dry air from the other parts of Asia. That's why we have cooler weather from March to November. Now, who tells us about the weather? We have the weather watchers. In the Philippines, we have PAG-ASA, which stands for Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration. PAG-ASA helps us by forecasting the weather, warning us about typhoons, and keeping us safe from the natural disasters. That's why it is important to listen to their updates, especially during the wet season. Now let's have a recap on what we have learned today. So when we talk about seasons or periods of time with specific weather, we have two seasons in the Philippines. We have the wet season, or what we call tag-ulan, is from June to November, and with the most rain in July to October. On the other hand, we have the dry season, or what we call tag-init, is from December to May, with the hottest months in March to May. So we have two factors why we have two seasons in the Philippines. We have the location and of course the prevailing wind in the Philippines. We have two monsoons in the Philippines, and these are the southwest monsoons or Habagat that brings warm, moist air and rain and typhoons from June to September. And next is the northeast monsoon, or what we call Amihan, that brings cooler air and dry weather from March to November. So we have also PAG-ASA that helps us predict the weather and keep us safe from storms. So that's it for today. I hope you've learned something new about two seasons in the Philippines. So until next time, bye-bye! And once again, this is your Sir Ayan saying goodbye and have a nice day.